Hello, hello. We're live on YouTube. How you doing? Michael Feely, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. Nice to be back. And nice to see you again. Thank you.
Well, if I told you it was the craziest year of my entire life, you maybe would understand. But yeah, it's been a while, and regular viewers will be familiar with you. Obviously, if you've never met, if you're watching this and you've never met Michael, allow Michael to introduce himself because it's a hell of a story.
Yeah, well, thank you. I started off on a council estate. I was pretty much told by teachers that I was substandard. Never really engaged.
They're good at that. They're good at that, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're good at that. Not in so many, detrimental words, but reading between the lines of school reports. Never used to really connect with the world. Always felt I've been dropped off in the wrong place. Spent many kind of years in my bedroom as much as I could. So it was that place of solitude in which I could think. I was having all of these adult thoughts. I was living on a council estate where all of the street names were of famous scientists of the past. And little did I realise that was extremely relevant. I lived on a road off Newton Road, and that was relevant. And throughout my life, teenage years, I began to really get this intense feeling to look into and research Greek mythology. And that's what I did. And in recent times, I then joined the police force, and I signed for 30 years. And I was married. It was my first marriage. I was there all the time. I never took any annual leave. I was always there. I mean, I never took holidays for 12 years. I was literally always there. But in year 17 of that 30, a lot of strange things began to happen to me. And 17 is obviously a pinnacle number, because when I was at police training centre in Hendon, my room number was 1717. And then on year 17, I started having all of these otherworldly things happen, and it eventually caused me to resign, 13 years short of a full term. And some of the things were UFOs, portals, quantum equations of a real advanced science, having things come into my room, clear orbs coming into the room, seeing advanced technology inside the orbs and different things. And it seemed everywhere I would go, something would happen. And I don't know if that was because they followed me, or I just happened to be in a place that was, a hotbed for these kind of things. And then in recent times, I discovered that there's been some really, really advanced minds that have been working with me all of my life, which I didn't realize. Ironically, one of them was Isaac Newton, which is the reason that I mentioned living off Newton Road. And another one was Nikola Tesla. And they were preparing me for a particular individual of history to then come back into my life to reconnect, because I needed to be at a certain level for him to be able to connect. And that third person was Leonardo da Vinci. And as a result of that reconnection, he asked me to continue the work that he never got finished. But it was also made known to me that in medieval times, I was actually Salai, who was his personal scribe. And if you look at that image behind me, that was me in medieval times. So there's this reconnection where I shall be revealing who he is, what he really looks like, the man behind the genius, and a lot of the secrets in the paintings that, to be quite frank, no one has ever got right. When you ever see an image of Leonardo da Vinci in the public arena, that's not him, because we are using images that are not him. A lot of people are using images of Antonio, which is his grandfather, but they are not of Leonardo. So there's a lot of feelers out there that are based on a false premise, because they're using inaccurate information in which to come to that theory. So really, it's been a fantastic life. Leonardo now, and Tesla and Newton continue to feed me lots and lots of deep, esoteric, quantum physics information. And to have three of the greatest minds to have ever existed on Earth all feeding you information, it begins to rub off. And there's a lot of information now that I wish to share that is nobody else knows, nobody else could possibly know. because there's a personal connection as to why that information is being revealed, and I am the one that is going to reveal it, and that really, in a very succinct nutshell, is the last few decades of my life.
Not bad, not too shabby.
No, it's unusual.
I know. But mind you, while you were saying it, I was thinking that's very similar to me. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I just got back from the Live 5D Health Healing Center that we set up, and I just want to shout out to Jackie and Jane, who've come over from England today. And Jackie stood there and she said, "Last time I saw you was at the Manchester event, the first one at the monastery. That's where we did that. It was 3 years ago."
Yeah, 2022. Yeah, fourth year. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, three. I mean, that was a hell of an event. The energy of the room that day, wasn't it amazing?
Yeah. It was electric. It was just one of those. Everything came together at the right moment. The venue, the audience, the people. It was just a fantastic day to remember, and I'm pleased that actually I was flicking through some old memories the other day and actually saw photographs of all of us on the stage. So that was it was a nice memory.
Yeah, and Jackie was saying, the energy was the thing. It was just being able to be in a room full of people that were awake, especially after lockdowns and stuff, was incredible. And we had 600 people there. It was extraordinary. Now, some of the people, there's a few things I'm going to bring up. Firstly, that monastery is very interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
For a lot of reasons. Have you got your books near to hand?
Yes.
Okay, let's hold that one up there so everybody can see it. I'll just make you bigger. Now, do you see that M on the front of Michael's book? Now, that M is from a real photo that was sent to us from people at the monastery, and it was in the light. And I found that very interesting. And you found it that interesting. You put it on front of that book. Do you want to explain that and the book?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as you say, I think it wasn't too long actually before the event that a lady was walking around the venue and took that photograph, and obviously showed it to some people, and it was said that, oh, it's the letter M, clearly in italics, and it couldn't be seen with the naked eye, but it was suggested that it may have been Mark or Michael, because we were both at the event, and it was literally days after.
Yeah, well, I thought it was all about me.
Well, you're intrinsic to it, but it never kind of sat right. But it was a number of months later, when I was doing research into other things, that I came across a group of new Knights Templars who were actually returning to the world with their knowledge, and they were called the Movement, and their symbol is the M, and their goal is to illuminate the world. So the book is entitled The Movement, Illumination of the World, and Leonardo da Vinci has made many contributions, including the foreword to that book. So then it began to make sense, because this particular location, as we both know, is very deeply connected to the Knights Templars. Yeah. And with the new Knights Templars, the movement coming back into the world, then you can see how all of the pieces now start to fit together, and then that then began to make sense, and that's what it is.
Well, something else around that time, I got a message from somebody who asked me a question, and she said, "Do you know what's on your hands, Mark?" And I went, "Why? What do you mean?" I had no idea what she was. She said, "Well, I'll tell you when you're ready." And then the M's. I've got M's on both hands.
Me too. And a crescent moon.
Do you want to explain that?
Basically, the letter M is a symbol of a mystic. It is a symbol of the carrier of ancient knowledge. And most people will have one M on one hand but I have M on each hand, and I also have a crescent moon, which means the same thing. It's basically the carrier of mysticism, the keeper of ancient knowledge, and that's what the M's stand for. And it is very rare.
Is it actually? I mean, there's a couple of people in the chat who've said, "Oh my god, me too." Tracy 8445. Have your eyes changed too? I have blue rims now, says Jet Set Willie. I don't know. My eyes changed. This lighting's not very good in here, so you probably can't see my eyes because I'm not very good with the lighting. But
my eyes are green.
Yeah, mine. Sometimes they're green, sometimes they're brown. It's weird. I can't really. My eyes change color.
Well, brown is basically to earth, anchor in the earth. Blue is again to do with anchoring in sacred knowledge, and green, which is only 3% of the population, is also to do with breaking down the old systems in order for the new systems to be in place. So each eye color has a vibration as per your purpose.
Well, I'm all for that. Yeah, the other thing I was going to talk to you about. So we did a couple of webinars last year, and some of the people watching this might be thinking, well, what happened to those webinars? Well, basically, I got distracted. I had to go and do things last year, and those things took me. You know, everything I do on this channel is based on intuition and based upon what I'm dealing with myself. So I went. Michael's been contacting me, said, "Do you want to do another one soon?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then finally, we're here. And he's very patient with me, and I do appreciate that. So we're gonna run a series of 5 webinars starting next Thursday to go deep into Giza Pyramid, the Knights Templar, and other things. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, what we'll do is a 60-minute webinar each Thursday, and that will incorporate Q&As and different things. But the first one will be the real Giza. And what I mean by that is, what are the pyramids really? What are they really? What is being found underneath them? What is being found within them? What are all of these cavities that scientists are now finding, and they haven't got a clue what they are? Well, I know, and I will tell you. How is it that the Great Pyramid is really a computer with an inbuilt antenna? How is it communicating with other antennas around the world, which we call the monuments and monoliths of the planet? How is it that it is a smaller version of the universe? Because the universe is also a computer. And how is it communicating with what we believe to be the moon, which is not the moon, but it is responsible for helping an augmented reality? And it speaks to the Great Pyramid in binary code, which is computerized. So to be all of these things, and the universe, you know, what is, we hear so much about the battle of dark and light, but what is dark and light? What is the purpose of the universe? What is the function of the universe? And how does that relate to our existence here? And then how does all that relate to the Great Pyramid and the Giza Plateau? So all these things will be answered, and that is the first webinar. The second one, I'll be then looking again. There's much talk about the Knights Templar, and it is a fascinating subject. There is much talk about the Holy Grail. There is much talk about the face of the Shroud of Turin being Jacques de Molay, who was the Grand Master of the Knights Templars. But what were they really? And who is the face of the Shroud of Turin? What is the Holy Grail really? And again, in webinar 2, I'll be answering those questions, and I'll be taking this subject from a completely different angle, a real deep hermetic angle as to what they are. Were they really the paradigm of Christ?
Can I just ask you, have you
Yeah.
So it's been nearly a year since we spoke. What have you gathered more new stuff in the last year?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
It's constant.
No, it's constant. I mean, bear in mind that the amount of stuff that I'd gathered prior to this year, in the last 12 months, that has probably quadrupled again. But it's gone deep. And you know, when I says to Leonardo, you know, how much will you teach me? And he said, how deep do you want to go?
How much do you want?
And I said, the deepest of depths. And that's pretty much what's happened. So all of these subjects that I spoke about in the past, I now speak of it, many levels deeper than before. As I develop and evolve, then more and more is able to come. And the ones who are feeding that information are then able to send more, because I'm more capable of being able to hold onto that. So yes, there's so much more come.
Well, that is the way all of this is working. I was just contemplating that before we started this show. The fact that I called this Adventures in a Cosmic Suit is, I was just thinking it's the perfect name for this, because as I stumble through this journey, like an idiot in the kitchen that I am, I'm totally aware that the kind of knowledge that I get or understanding is earned. I have to, my whole life just feels like a big initiation. And the better the work that I do, the more that I learn and the more that I share with the subscribers. And it's beautiful how that's coming together. There's some of the people that I meet. If you guys, the guys that have come to the Live 5D Health this week from all over the place, it's just amazing. It's truly, truly beautiful. But I do have a question about Leonardo.
Okay.
I've been a big fan of his for a very long time. He really resonated with me from a childhood. I went to, I think it was in France, where he died in the bedroom. There's a place there, and they've got the helicopter and the stuff in the garden. Have you ever been to that place?
I lived there in medieval times, so yes.
No,
yeah,
I do. Have you been there as Michael?
Yes, I go. I experience time slips in which I go back to that place, and the desk that you saw at the end of the bed is the desk that I go back to now. So yes,
it's so beautiful there.
That's where his grave is. That's where he's buried as well.
Yeah. So my question is, and I just does he have a good sense of humor?
Yes, he does, unless you criticize his work.
Ooh, really?
Yes.
And what language is he speaking to you in?
Telepathically.
Hmm.
He speaks to me in English. Occasionally, some Italian will come out as well. But he had to make some kind of what he termed some transitional adjustments, and that's his words, in order to be able to speak to me. So I get it in telepathically. I understand it as English, but sometimes I do hear his voice and he's speaking Italian.
That's interesting. It's like the telepathic circuit in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, what else are we going to cover?
Well, ironically, that's a fantastic segue, because the third one is the secrets of Da Vinci. So I'll be talking about some of the famous paintings, what the Last Supper means, what it really means, who the Mona Lisa really is. There's a lot of people that believe they know who it is, and some people have said to me, everybody knows it is this particular person. But what I would say is now everybody thinks they know, but it is not that person. And I will then reveal.
So for me, the Mona Lisa is a bloke, isn't it?
No.
The
the Mona Lisa is a feminization of a bloke.
And
that bloke was me. So because when you look into the hermetic principle of androgyny, the perfect state is androgynous, because it is the two halves merged. So the Mona Lisa, and when I do this particular webinar, I'll actually go into what the Mona Lisa really means when you look at Leonardo's mirror writing, and what that means for what it is. So the Mona Lisa is a feminized version of Salai, because it's the hermetic principle of androgyny, the perfect state. So I'll go into that. I will go into John the Baptist. I will go into Vitruvian Man, The Last Supper, Salvador Mundi. All of these different paintings have a meaning that nobody else knows, and I guarantee they don't know, because there's you have to have a personal connection to understand. Just last week, I was looking at the back of painting, and I was actually analysing it, and I found a significant year, a date, hidden in the paint. So there's all of these wonderful things that are coming that I wish to share in terms of who Leonardo is, what he was like, how he was tormented by the Vatican, how he was really tormented in life, and all of these different things. As he was painting the fresco The Last Supper in Milan, he was also doing a diploma in hydraulics. He actually wrote The Science of Water, which is used to build bridges and different things, which Bill Gates now owns because he bought it. And there was a message. Bill Gates bought Leonardo da Vinci's Science of Water.
What the fuck is wrong with Bill Gates? He just buys everything, and he's trying to fucking patent apples and shit. I hate this man. He must be dead anyway. Yeah. I'm sure he's dead. But... Well,
you will find that there's information in there that is quite useful to him, because water is an important commodity, But yeah, so Bill Gates bought it, and Leonardo wrote it, and there's bits coming back to me in relation to what's in there. So I will cover all of these different things, and again, because nobody actually knows what Leonardo looks like, I will show you on that particular webinar what he looks like.
Has he been hidden on purpose?
Not necessarily on purpose, but all of the paintings that people have associated with him are not him. So he has drawn them, but people have basically misconstrued and believed that image to be him. There's one of them which is known as the red painting, which is like a sketch of a man with a long beard, and people have said, well, that's Leonardo da Vinci. It is not. It is grandfather Antonio. So people have misunderstood and associated him with the wrong person. So this has then become the accepted image, and it's not him.
I believe you, and I'm looking forward to learning more. What else are we going to do? How many more is that? How many webinars is that?
That was free. So then I'll talk about what I've deemed the path of the fish, which again is an emetic phrase. And a number of years ago, I went outside and something had etched like a Christian fish on my door from the outside. And I know that it's not anybody. It's none of my neighbours, because for one, it is a secret symbol, and for two, nobody knows in my block what I do. But it just turned up, and I have a picture of it. It's still there. I never got rid of it. And the Christian fish. So I'll be talking about what is the path of the fish, and it relates to the fishes of men. It relates to this knowledge that we have to retrieve from the subconscious, which is the oceans. Now, the fish goes to places that nothing else goes to, and it is seen as representing secret knowledge of the subconscious mind that needs to be anchored and fished into the conscious mind. So really, the path of the fish is really the journey of mysticism. It is really the journey of your evolution, your progress, and how that has been attributed to the fish. Now, when we see fingers crossed, that is the fish. And all of these secret symbols relate to your particular journey from the depths of the subconscious, bringing that subconscious into the conscious world. And you become the fishers of men, because the word fish means the mouth of man. And it is the mouth of man that speaks divinity. So
I thought it was the lead singer of Marillion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I wonder if there's something in that.
Well,
because he was very, very good. I saw him at Milton Keynes Bowl in 1986, and I've yet to see anybody better on stage speaking directly from the heart. One of his songs, Forgotten Sons, about Northern Ireland, is still one of my favorite songs ever written. And you don't get bands like that anymore making it into, popular. I mean, singing about real things. And I wonder if he knew that.
it seems to be. I don't find these things coincidental. You know,
No, they're not, are they?
When you start
And let
looking
me
at the
tell-
symbols.
Well, let me tell you about why I know. I mean, I've met you. I've read some of your books. I've seen you talk. I've been on webinars with you. You are an extraordinary individual. There's no question. Your knowledge is mind-blowing and very challenging, some of this stuff to you guys. I've left a link in the chat. If you want to book onto the webinars, come along. You can pay what you can afford. It's not, you know, it's up to you. But I highly recommend it. We're going to record them all, put them inside a members area. So even if you can't make a live one, we're going to start next Thursday, do an hour a week for 5 weeks. And if you can come, great. If you miss one, I'll be uploading into a members area. And I think this is essential information. And one of the reasons why I love Michael is because I've had weird experiences my whole life. I've had portals open in my room of dragons made of light, UFOs come to see me. But I was telling a story to Jackie, who's here in Boyle today at the Live 5D Health, and she's an amazing woman who's been awake for years and years and years and years. And she was the one who said how much she loved coming to the monastery event, because it was just, you know, because she was treated like shit where she lives by everybody around her because she refused all the nonsense in 2020. And I was telling her the story about when I went to a talk in Manchester again. There it is again. This is funny because I used to live in Manchester, right? So I went to this talk in Manchester, and it was Ian R. Crane. Do you remember him? Did you ever come across Ian R. Crane?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I've met him many times.
Lovely man. And he got hospitalized during the COVID, and I got an email from him while he was in hospital. But you know, I'd love to have spent more time with him, but he passed on, which is sad. But anyway, at that event, there were a number of speakers. That's where I first saw Thomas Sheridan speak. Do you know Thomas? You know, he lives down the road from here.
Yeah.
He came to speak at my last event here. Amazing man, and beautiful soul, deep knowledge as well. And there was another guy on called what's his name? John Perkins, the economic hitman. If you guys watching this have not read The Economic Hitman, highly recommend it. John Perkins was recruited by the CIA when he was at university, and he was the front man for the US takeover of small countries. Basically, he would go and tell them, this is the deal, and if you don't agree, the guy behind me is going to kill you. You know, that's basically what he did. And then he had an awakening, and he hung out with the tribes, shamanic tribes. And anyway, the strange story that I want to share with you, which is why I know Michael's 100%, is I was telling Jackie this afternoon. I was sat at the I went to get a signed copy of his book, and I was queuing up for it. And when I got to him, he just looked up at me, held my hand like this, stared at me for 2 minutes, and then gave me the book. And then my wife at the time went, what was that? I said, I don't know. But then 2 days later, or 3 days later, I got anonymously sent a copy of Carlos Castaneda's book. And I'm sure it was him, but I don't know how he got my address or knew who I was or anything, but it was anonymous. It was just, these things do happen, guys. Don't they?
Yeah, that they, and for some reason, you know, the people that need these things to happen, they happen to a lot. You know, I've always made it clear from the very beginning, my threshold is this: I do not speak about anything unless I've personally experienced it. So if I, you know, when I go to UFO conferences, I'm probably one of two people who've actually seen anything. I would not be on stage talking about UFOs if I hadn't seen them. I would not be talking about ancient mysteries if I hadn't been given the information, if I hadn't been to these places in this life and other lives. You know, I wouldn't be talking about Leonardo da Vinci unless I knew it was him that was giving me that information, because there's a certain amount of trust, you know, there's a certain amount of integrity, and I take that quite seriously. You know, it's very joyful. It's a wonderful experience. It's wonderful to have all of these experiences. But there comes a responsibility that you get it right. there comes a responsibility that if Leonardo or Tesla or Newton or anybody else tells me something, I say it as it was given, because that is how it was intended. So I do take this quite seriously, even though it's an absolutely privilege and an honor to be able to experience these things. And it's really even more of a privilege and honor to be able to share these things, because the one thing that is missing in our society, which is really structured to stop you knowing and to stop you from doing anything, is to actually do and to know. And that really goes against the grain, and when people, I'll also speak about what the matrix really is, and how to escape what the matrix really is, which comes into the first webinar in relation to the computers and things like that. And then to conclude, I'll be talking about what are these glyphs and images on the landscape of Peru. And it has a little bit more credence now, because Eric Van Daniken, who was big into this subject, passed away in the last week.
Yeah, he only passed away last week.
Yeah, and again, Leonardo da Vinci said, when I was writing that book, he wanted me to look into the Nazca lines, and he was giving me some techniques as to what to do to look into them. And I said, I will do that. As soon as I've written what I need to write, I will go back and I'll start looking into the Nazca lines. So I got all the things that he told me I needed to do, and did that, and put grids on top of grids because they were multi-layered. And what I began to realize is that each of the images of Nazca, I was able to correspond exactly to different star systems, different constellations, and every one of them relates to a different constellation. So in essence, it's a star map.
Yeah.
So what I did then is he's got a picture of the galaxy and followed that star map.
Even that big spider.
Even that big spider is a constellation.
That's a constellation. There's a constellation that looks like a giant tarantula.
There's a constellation which is based on that, yes.
I don't want to go there. I think I might have come from there.
Well, that's why you're on the web.
Hey. Oh, I forgot about your joke. Your jokes are worse than mine. Yeah, brilliant.
I haven't lost it, I once told my parents I identify as a coffee bean. I was grounded. So every one of them, I will actually, go through it on.
We should publish a book of Michael Feely jokes. You could fill one about that thick.
What we should do is we should hire some actors, and we should actually act out the jokes. So it would actually be a network sketch. And I mean, the ideas for that are already going from my head. So but basically it's a star map, and I'll tell you where it leads and why it leads and all that kind of stuff. But every one of them, I've been able to correlate exactly with a different constellation, and it is a map.
And what's the benefit of understanding that? How can we use that knowledge to help us get through this spiritual situation we're in?
Because it tells us about 0 point. It tells us about net zero. It teaches us about creation itself. It shows us from where there will be a gigantic influx of energy coming our way. And with that gigantic influx of energy, it will yield various changes. So it is pinpointing where all of these things are coming from.
Yeah, so based upon all this information that you've been, have you got more of your books there near you, Michael, that you could hold up for people?
I've only got this one.
You've only got that one there.
I've only got that one there, which is the latest one.
Yeah. No, what I was going to ask you then is, obviously you're spending all your waking hours simulating this information, putting it into a format that people can understand. What's the benefit to us? Where do you personally think? I know I've asked you this previously, but it's been a few years now. How do you think it's going for us?
I think for a lot of people it is going well. Now, again, I'll cover this, but many years ago I was walking at night through a really dark forest, and I just happened to look up at the moon, or what we believe to be the moon, and I saw lots and lots of pulsating conic-like grids coming from the bottom of the moon towards Earth. Now, my mind is as such that I can't rest because I've seen this. What is it? What are these pulsating grids coming from this moon? So I went back home and I did my own quantum physics. And my quantum physics told me, sorry,
Yeah.
so my quantum physics relates to angular velocity, angular position, and a change through time. Now, I've been able to completely rewrite what time is. But I realized when I played around with the mathematics of the size of the moon, that I also had binary code. And there's a binary code conversation going on between the Great Pyramid and this thing we think is the moon. But as the moon pulsates this grid, I also found that that is what is tilting the Earth. Now, the reason that the Earth is tilting is that there will be at some point a dimensional split. And it is the so-called moon, which is a way station, that is tilting and will create that dimensional split. Now, the reason for the dimensional split is those who are refusing to evolve, won't see the obvious, are trying to hinder those who are trying to, shall we say, for want of a better phrase, ascend themselves and evolve themselves. They will remain in this time, in this dimension, in this current state of hell. Leonardo says the thinkers will rise. In other words, the ones who wish to evolve will be given an opportunity because they deserve the right not to be held back. They will then slip into another timeline in another dimension of Earth. And that is when we'll be able to get to where we need to get. There are many galactic meetings that go on, and I've been there. And some of the questions that have been posed at those galactic meetings is, what is the use of humanity? What purpose do they serve? Now, the counter argument to that is, how can you ever know when they've never been given a chance? And that argument has won. And people will be given a chance. And that is really the goal of knowing these things. When we look at what is the biblical Christ, the biblical Christ is the divine spark in each and every one of us. And again, I will cover this in the Templars.
Mm-hmm.
But the divine spark in each and every one of us. Now, what is the divine spark? It is a fragment of the divine mind. And you understand the divine mind by developing your own divine mind. And you do that by greater knowledge. And when you have this greater knowledge, you then start to understand this cosmic mind. And these are the benefits of knowing these things, because it is knowledge that will set you free. And that is a saying that when the ears of the student are ready to hear, cometh the lips to fill them with knowledge. And that is going back to what you said 10-15 minutes ago. If you want, you have to ask. If you want to be initiated, you have to ask 3 times. That is the law. That is the rule.
Well, that didn't Tesla walk around hotels 3 times before he went through the door? He understood all of this. That's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. The number 3 is universal creation.
Yeah.
You have your likes of yin and yang, which is your so-called opposites, but opposites are really the same thing. They're one. But when you have these 2 opposites dancing, they create a tension. Whether that's the symbol of the moon and the sun, whether that's the yin and yang, what it reflects is the tension that it creates. Now, the tension that it creates is the void from which things are created. That is the law of 3. That is the law of the triangle. And that is why the number 3 is important. Now, again, on webinar 1, I shall go into the importance of that and how that fits in to the real purpose of the universe and why the universe is as it is and why we have so-called dark and light. You know, I once went to do a talk at a New Age venue, and at the end of it, as I always do, I had a Q&A, and I said, somebody says to me, why have you brought darkness into this place? I said, what do you mean by that? Clearly it was an ignorant statement. You know, they were ignorant of the facts. And I explained to them, I said, do you believe in the Bible? And she says, yes. I said, okay. And your Bible says that on the 4th day, God created light. So if God created light on the 4th day, he must have been a place that was not light. It was dark. So why are you telling me to avoid the dark, which is exactly where God is? And I will go into what I mean by let there be light, and on the fourth day there was light, and why that is intrinsically important in the way in which the universe functions. Because this battle of dark and light is not a battle, it is an essential evolution of the universe. And I will go into what light and dark really is.
Well, I was saying only last night to somebody, we should actually be very grateful to all these demons, because look at what they've made us learn.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, again, when I rewrote what time really was, and again, I will share that with the audience in the webinars, but when I've rewritten what time actually is, to my surprise, because what I'm looking at now behind the camera is a wall-to-wall of whiteboards, and every one of them has the cure for a disease, from dementia to cancer to tumors, all of these things that I have across my wall. My notepads are stacked on top of each other like the Leaning Tower of Pizza. And all of this information has to be shared. So when I was rewriting time and what time really is, and how time is another intrinsic essential part of the universe, and how Einstein was correct about time being the fourth dimension, but he was correct in the wrong way. How we believe that time is linear, which is correct, but for the wrong reasons. And to my surprise, my rewriting of time fits in perfectly to my formulas for the cures for all illness and disease. So again, I will share what time is as part of this series, because it's important for the foundation of the universe. It's important to understand how we can cure these diseases. I found, to my surprise, that it all matches. But light and dark, you know, we are told so many times you must follow the light, you must forget the dark, you must only follow the light. Let me tell you that the light ain't always the good light. But I will go more into that at the right time.
Yeah, brilliant. You guys watching this, if you're watching this after the live, there's a link in the description where you can book onto the web, come to the webinars, learn this stuff. You'll have access to the videos, 5 hours of videos for as long as you're around. One of the good things about doing a live is there are some good questions in the comments. Can I ask you a few of those?
No,
so Tracy 8445 says, can the pyramids be connected to the plasma? Does that mean anything to you?
Yes. Scientists in the last 6 to 7 months have found plasma clouds above the Giza Plateau. Plasma is electricity. That leads me nicely into webinar 1. But yes, plasma is electricity. It has been found as a plasma cloud above the Great Pyramid. It is the transporter of radio waves. Now, the Great Pyramid is a radio and an antenna. And
can I interrupt you? I talked about this. I saw a video the other day. I don't know if it was true or not, but it rang true, saying there's a new car coming out of Africa that's powered by radio waves, and it's a $14,000 car, and it's brilliant. And you know, and that is totally rings true, because Tesla was the same, electricity, radio waves. The whole thing makes sense, doesn't it?
What Tesla was doing is really mimicking what the Great Pyramid does.
Yeah,
so it's an inbuilt antenna, a radio wave that's communicating, bouncing off the ionosphere, and it's being picked up by other antennas, which is like the likes of Stonehenge, the likes of your stone circles, which are concentric circular antennas. And again, I will show you the science of that in a bit.
I just had a flashback, because you remember that time I went to Arbor Low with Gillian England, and I rang you, didn't I, when we were in there, because you taught me how to do that thing with the stone circle.
Yeah.
I'm having great flash. This is great, coming into a conversation and then remembering stuff. Like, oh my God, yeah, brilliant. You learn a lot from this, man, guys.
You do. What they are is what is known as a VUI, which is a voice user interface. So they are voice activated. And
yeah,
when you look at the likes of what
we've talked about this before, haven't we? Open Sesame, you know, it's all there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I went to Stonehenge, and I've seen this and I've heard this. You know, when like, you know, people walk in now from work and say, Alexa, switch the lights on. Alexa, switch the TV on. That's exactly what these ancient monuments are. They are voice-activated computer interfaces. So the plasma then really is electricity. The one thing I would say, which is intriguing, is the longest plasma cloud that has ever been recorded in existence from start to finish is 12 hours. So if scientists are finding plasma balls and plasma clouds above the Giza Plateau, there has been a transmission within the last 12 hours. They are still speaking.
It's those with ears to hear, isn't it?
It is. When you look at what a star is, you have ley lines, which are basically intersections of magnetic energy of Earth. The electrical lines of the universe and the cosmos are plasma. So when you have an intersection of plasma, you get ball lightning, and that's a star. So wherever you see a star is where you see an intersection of plasma in the cosmos. So plasma is an important thing, and again, I'll do it on webinar 1.
Is there a link between ball lightning and those? Have you ever seen the videos of the crop circles being made by small white light?
Yes.
Is that's the same as the ball lightning? So it's got intrinsic intelligence.
It has. There's been, if you actually get a video of that and you slow it right down, some people can actually see binary code, and the plasma balls are speaking to each other in binary code.
Well, yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, I have actually decoded messages within the sound waves of newly formed crop circles, because every shape is a sound. And even Leonardo says in his foreword, he says, all I speak of is there for you to see, in ancient monuments, in the messages we send for you even now, in your fields of hay crop circles. And I found messages within crop circles. So it is within the sound waves of the shapes.
And there's a video that's been going around the internet the last couple of years of a guy that did an experiment on DMT with laser lights, and he's proven beyond doubt, because everybody that does it sees the binary code.
Yes, absolutely.
And there was an interesting weekend I had once in Lithuania when I went to visit one of the world's leading experts on cannabis. This was about 12 years ago, I think. And he said, I have a new strain. It's called CBDN, I think it was. And then he gave me a couple of drops, and I had, as we were having dinner, and everybody started laughing about 10 minutes later. This is strong stuff. And he says, here, have some more. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 28 drops I had. Because I'm like that, right? I took the 28 drops, and then I was like, whoa, this isn't normal. And I was really trying to remain normal as I was walking back to my room. And I spent 24 hours just looking at binary code. Couldn't get up, couldn't move. Everything, the curtains, the walls, it was all binary code. And even though I couldn't move and I looked disabled, and I missed my meeting the next day because I couldn't move, I was laughing so much, because it's a bit like ayahuasca. When I did ayahuasca, it was very familiar. It was like I was going home. And that was what seeing the code was like. It was like, I know all this. It's like, you know it. But then
it is. I've looked at clouds and they've turned into binary code. You know, the whole of reality really is a binary code. And again,
I could make clouds change with my mind after doing a peyote ceremony. I couldn't believe it. I'd never done anything like it. I came outside and I was looking at the clouds and I was making them change shape with my mind. I wasn't hallucinating. And then I was saying, did you see that? And they were like, yeah. And I was changing them into Mickey Mouse. I was doing all sorts. It was hilarious.
No, you can. You can, because when you realize that you actually control reality.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you get to 34 degrees and above, you are taught, but you're doing it naturally.
Yeah, well, where do all these shills come from? Am I creating them?
you really create everything,
Yeah, I know.
or you allow these things
Awful
to be
question.
created for you, and you accept it as, the majority of people have this accepted reality thrust upon them,
Yeah,
and as part of the matrix, they are simply a program,
yeah,
and a program is a set of rules to accomplish a task, and
yeah,
that's what most people have become, a program that is inputted into their mind, and they accept it as reality. But when you begin to realize, and a lot of your Illuminati, all seeing eye, the eye above the pyramid, is telling you this, is your reality is observer dependent, and you, the observer, creates that reality.
yeah.
And as I say, when you get to 33rd degrees of masonry onwards, you are taught how to do this.
Are you in the Masons?
Now, I've been, should we say, I've been invited by many groups, but I've always said no.
I
I don't.
me too.
I
I got
don't.
invited a few times. There was one time a guy came to my house, and because I was so knowledgeable about the Masons, because I've got all the books, I'd read loads, I studied them, was fascinated by them, read the books. Guy comes to my house, starts talking to me, and he goes like this. He goes, "Which lodge are you in?" And I went, and I had a moment in my mind. It was like I could really play with him here, and I went, "Actually, I'm not in any lodge." And he looked at me and he went, "Oh, yeah, you're right. You're not the type of person that would join." That's what he said to
Yeah,
me. And I was
yeah,
like, and I knew exactly what he meant because I wasn't weak.
yeah.
That's what he meant. And because he was a weak man. I look back on him and I remember him as a weak
Mm.
individual who was just fawning to get money. Anyway, enough of that. There's a question here from Catalyst there. So, does this mean that the thinkers will be separated from people who do not want to know the truth, and they will disappear from our lives, including blood relatives? I think that's already happened, hasn't it?
It's already beginning to happen. Uh, it's already beginning to happen. And every person that I speak to, as on an individual basis, with all of these one-to-one sessions and wherever I do, every single one of them speaks about how their friends are just disappearing, how their
Yeah.
family are just disappearing, because when you begin to understand, and when you do become a thinker, you create a new password, and that is a vibratory password. And only the people that know that password, i.e., those who vibrate the same, know that password and can actually enter your space. So it is not a case of you've done anything wrong or they've done anything wrong. You are just drifting away from that which no longer serves. So it's already beginning to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, you know.
Well,
So yes.
it's because of our perception of time that it frustrates people. But what I was saying to the lovely, oh, sorry, what I was saying to the lovely ladies that were there today is, sorry, I just got distracted by a phone call. I turned it anyway. Long story.
It's another question
No, no, this was good. What was I talking about?
about a lovely lady.
Yeah, no, well, no, she's really really nice, and no, it'll come back to me. There's another question here from Katarina Boschoff 4466. Hi from California, first time here. We are very welcome. How do we free our minds? How do we live without fear? Now that is, you've kind of just answered it, but there's more to it.
Yeah. Yes, fear is really the biggest weapon against you. And one of the
Yeah,
hardest battles you will ever fight is your own mind. But you have to
no
begin
shit.
to, you have to take a conscious control. And when things start coming into your head, just like they have always done, trying to tell you that you're not worthy, or you can't do it, or, bad things will happen if you do, you have to take the biblical chariots by the reins and control them. And when you begin to control your thoughts, when you begin to replace the ones that are not to your betterment, then you start to control your thoughts. As we are all antennas, some of these thoughts are things that we are picking up that are not ours. And you have to discern what is yours and what isn't yours. But the biggest battle you will ever fight is your mind, and it's not easy. But when you begin to start taking control of your mind, then you'll succeed. The Bible phrases it such as this: the devil was cast down from heaven, which means your thoughts, you have to cast them out of heaven, which is here. And that's how you can. That's in a brief way. You have to take a conscious control. You have to take the reins of the chariot, and you have to steer them.
I think I first heard the expression standing in your power about 15, 16 years ago, and I'd never heard it before, and I didn't truly understand it. But certainly over the last 16 years, I have come to understand it. And to say, you know, there are moments, basically, the way I see it, Katerina, is that when you get moments in life where you're presented with a situation where you have a choice to make. I'll give you one example. I was at Marrakesh airport once, and there was a delay on the plane, and I knew they were lying to us about the plane being delayed, and it was, you know, they kept saying 3 more hours, 3 more hours, and I was like, I've had enough of this. I'm not staying here for 24 hours. So we walked out of the airport, down onto the tarmac, and back through, and we were chased by all these police, Moroccan police. And I just put my hand up, go, no, I'm leaving now, thank you very much. And I just walked through, broke all the rules, but they just left us alone because I stood in I wasn't having it. I went off, stayed in a nice hotel for the night. Everybody else got carted off to a shithole for the night. They all got dragged up at 4 a.m. for a flight that didn't leave till 3 p.m. I had a nice breakfast, relaxed, got a taxi, got there, calmly got onto the plane, very happy. And you do get these opportunities in life when I'm not suggesting anybody breaks the law, but what I am saying is when you stand in your power, then you step forward. You become, you know, courage is doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It just means you do it anyway.
You have to use that fear and those emotions to your advantage.
Yeah.
And when you do stand in your power, it's I mean, no one is invincible, but you feel as invincible as it gets, and there's nothing that will get through that. And you just walk around, you just walk around with that presence. You know, it's like when you have the likes of Bruce Lee and people like that. He walked around with a presence. Now, the idea to learn martial arts is to never have to use it, and you don't have to use it because you have that presence that people just pick up that you know. And it really is standing in your power. And when you stand in your power, you don't tolerate nonsense. You don't tolerate lies. You don't tolerate anything. And because you can't, it is now something that pains you to accept.
Yeah, I had a very similar conversation this morning, and I was recounting the time when the social services and the school teacher demanded me to go to the school to threaten me with prison because I took my boys out of school that was trying to make them wear a mask. And I sat and I listened to them. And then I looked them in the eye and I said, you tried to make my boys wear a mask when there was absolutely no need. That is child abuse. You are the ones who will be going to prison. They just freaked out. And then I left. And
they're not used to people standing their ground. You know, as far as I'm concerned, if someone says to me, you know, we are going to fine you because you took your child out of school a day early to go on holiday, then every time they had a teacher training day, every time they had a teacher strike, every time they had a boiler failure in the winter, I would fine them because it works both ways.
It does.
You know, and it does work both ways, but they're not you because they have this perceived power, which is an illusion. They think that everybody is going to buckle under that strain of.
Well, it's because most people do. I made a meme 15 years ago saying the world is run on red ink and yellow paint.
Yeah.
Because the people freak out. They're on yellow. Oh God, I'm gonna get a parking ticket. Or the teachers have told them nasty things with red ink their whole life, so they get a red letter and must pay this bill. No.
I had a conversation with my council the other day because they've decided to cancel the local elections in May. So I've said, okay, you've cancelled the elections. I've now cancelled my council tax.
Yeah, good man.
That's it.
It's illegal anyway. It's unlawful.
It is illegal. It is unlawful,
Unlawful.
but so is cancelling elections.
Yeah.
So, you know, if they can do it, then so can I. And that's what I'm saying about, you know.
That is the beauty of what's going on in the world, because people are always saying to me, why is it taking so long? Why is this digital ID thing coming in? Why is this happening? Why is that war happening? Why is Starmer saying, you know, 65-year-old veterans prepare for war? It's like,
exactly.
It's to make you wake up and go, what? Who are these people? And then you're getting given that choice, micro choice, macro choice on a daily basis. And the more of us that make the right choices, the better this whole situation gets. I've got to bring this up because I don't know the answer, actually. Come on, 8:30 said, God created the light on the first day, not the fourth. I don't really.
Yeah.
You said the fourth, but she said, or he says the first. What?
Well, it depends what you read, but whether it's the first day or whether it's the fourth day, the creation of light has to come from a place of dark.
Yeah.
So it's irrelevant what date is, but nevertheless, I will go into what that statement actually means, because it is relevant to the secret function of the universe.
Okay, thank you. Right, Maria, what I do says, can we use old Tartarian buildings such as the ones in Trafalgar Square in London to do healing things? I'd say so.
You can do whatever you put your intention to. Your mind is one of the most powerful machines there is. And if you can control your mind and you have the right intention behind your actions, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm just going to answer this question. Wendy Dobinson just looked for the webinar info. It says Thursday, the 26th of January, 26th is on a Monday. My mistake. It's the 29th. Right, let me just double check that date. Thursday, the 29th is the first one, which is in 6 days from now. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, 6 days. Yeah.
Okay, so I will change that on the website, and sorry for making that mistake. I am doing a million things, and I squeezed that in today, so I made a little error there. Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but I'm going to bring it up again because Katarina Boshoff again says, do you know anything about the 13 crystal skulls? I do, but Michael does as well. Go on, Michael.
Well, the number 13, again, is a highly, highly significant number.
It's my birthday.
It was written out of the sky by the church that feared what it meant. So they surrounded it in superstition so that people wouldn't go there. 13 relates to the Templars, 13 relates to the actual stars. We are told that we are in the age of Aquarius. We're not. We're in the 13th zodiac age. The crystal skulls are a consciousness radio communication system. And the number 13 is also in the Last Supper painting with Christ and the 12. But that's not Christ. And that's not the 12 disciples. So the number 13 is a secret thing. But the crystal skulls are some kind of consciousness radio communication system, some telepathic crystalline system, just like the Great Pyramid is.
Yeah, that's why it's good information and useful information. This is a good one. This comes up all the time for me. I'm almost on a daily basis with people in real life. Sassy Cindy 311 says, do NPCs have souls, or do we just write them into our matrix? Or did we just write them into our matrix?
Well, people are comfortable with there are chosen light ones. They're not so comfortable with that equally there are chosen dark ones. And it is the chosen dark ones that have a role. It is the chosen light ones who have a role. And again, both are the same thing. They are different vibrations of the same thing. So a lot of them are put there because it is a computer game system. And all computer games have NPCs. And those NPCs have a role. So they were put there to fulfill that role within the matrix, which is a program within the algorithm. So they were put there for a specific task.
Yeah, they are fulfilling a role. They are amusing though, because even my kids talk about them all the time.
Yeah, the Agent Smiths. You know, it's absolutely everything has a role to fulfill a means to an end.
Yeah, I mean, we should be. I'm at the point. You know, I learned this. I've mentioned this on the show before. I learned this expression years ago that got me through the hardest times of my life, which is everything's exactly as it's meant to be. Even when you're in the deepest shit, just say that to yourself, and you will get through it because you are learning something by going through that process. And that means that we have to give gratitude, and we have to forgive everybody, and we have to give gratitude to everybody, whatever they've done to you.
It's a difficult concept when
I know.
you realise that the only way to win is to forgive and to love. You know, and that's difficult when you're up against some of the most evil things possible. But you know, you if you want to win this, you just have to play the game smart.
Absolutely. John just said thanks to all the staff and members at Live 5D Health left yesterday. Love and peace, John. John, it was great to meet you. Thanks for coming, mate. Right, last question, because I know we've done an hour now. Where's it gone? Tracy 8445 says, who wrote the program, Michael? You did, Tracy.
When you look at what the universe is a supercomputer, and that supercomputer is along the lines of AI, and that's what wrote. Well, that's the game that was written. There's obviously something external to that which programmed it, but the universe is a mental thing. It is a gigantic conscious mind. And when you look at the different nesting facets of that, we are currently in the dream, the computer program of life, the sensory dream of life. We sense the virtual. We think it is real. People say, how can the ocean, if the earth is a sphere, how can the ocean be pinned in Australia? That's because it's a virtual sea. So all of these things is a trickery and a computer program within many nesting programs. And we are living the sensory program of life. So every one of us inputs into that database. And every one of us that separates from this oneness that we are told, the parts become more whole. And when they become more whole, they return to the whole, and the whole becomes even wholer. So we are all contributing. We are all the universal mind. We are just a different fragment of the same thing. We all have made the program.
Yeah. Let that mess with your head.
So
this is
we're all responsible for it.
No, we are. No, this book literally just told me to pick it up. Have you ever heard of this? The Atlantean Identifier by... Have you heard of this?
I've heard of it. I've never read it. I don't read many books.
No, well, it was Leopold Alvaro, and his wife sent me it, and I think he's passed on now. If I'm wrong there, I do apologize, but I think that's the situation. And it's just told me to read it before our webinar. This is about the Knights Templar. Ooh, right, Michael. I know
doing some research.
Yeah, there's not enough time in the day.
There isn't, but Atlantis is not an island. It is much closer to home. I might cover that too then in that case. But yes.
Oh, don't tease us with that one.
Atlantis is your mind. You have your 33rd vertebrae, which is Atlas. The word Atlantis means the island of Atlas, which is there. It's the same as Solomon's Temple is the hippocampus. Yep. And you get through the double pillars, which is the anterior fornix, into Atlantis. And Plato says you get to Atlantis through the two pillars. It's all talking about the conscious mind. There's a region between the pineal gland and the pituitary gland called the Crystal Palace. Some people may recognise that as a football team, but that region is called the Crystal Palace. That is the reactivation of your Atlantean crystals. That's Atlantis. It's your mind.
Which is why the BBC was based at the Crystal Palace originally, wasn't it? Because it was all about mind control.
Yes. They now, you see, the crystalline region, but that is the Atlantean crystals. It's a conscious mind.
No, I've missed you, Michael. It's been fun. Let's well, we're gonna see each other every Thursday now for the next 5 weeks. The link's below the video. If you want to come and join us, you're very welcome. Thanks everybody for all the inputs today. Have a fantastic weekend. Is it really? Whatever, you know, have a great Friday and enjoy yourself. And thanks very much, Michael. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. You take care. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers. See you later.